When the war ended, thousands of German soldiers expected punishment. They had fought for Hitler. They had invaded nations. They were ready for revenge from their enemies. But what they found shocked them, because instead of prison camps filled with hunger and hate, they saw America, factories, ice cream, baseball games. And for the first time, these men began to question everything they had believed. This is the story of the German POWs who discovered a world they were told didn't exist, and how that experience quietly helped rebuild Europe. By early 1945, the Third Reich was collapsing. On the Western Front, Allied forces captured tens of thousands of German soldiers every week. For these men, the rumors were terrifying. Propaganda had told them, "Americans torture prisoners. You'll never return alive." So when the transport ships crossed the Atlantic, most believed they were heading to some desolate island or a life of hard labor. Instead, they saw something else entirely. As the ships neared the U.S. coast, the prisoners stared at skylines of steel, ships stretching farther than they'd ever imagined. It was like arriving on another planet. The sheer scale of the ports, the endless lines of trucks, the towering buildings, it was the first crack in the foundation of everything they'd been taught. They had been told America was decadent and weak, crippled by the war. But the evidence before their eyes told a completely different story. This wasn't a country on its knees. It was a giant humming with power. The psychological shock began before they even set foot on land. The first surprise was order. Clean stations, friendly faces, coffee offered by Red Cross volunteers. Some POWs whispered, "They're trying to trick us." But the kindness continued. They were taken to camps across America, from Texas plains to Pennsylvania forests. Each camp had libraries, sports fields, even art classes. One POW wrote in his diary, "They treat us as human beings. For the first time, I'm ashamed of how we treated others." For many, that realization cut deeper than any wound from the battlefield. They were fed well, with meals that included fresh meat, vegetables, and even desserts. Luxuries unheard of back in war-torn Germany. They were given proper medical care and decent quarters. Instead of being brutalized, they were given books, shown movies, and allowed to play soccer. This wasn't the enemy they had been trained to hate. This was something else, something confusing and profoundly unsettling. The quiet decency they experienced day after day slowly chipped away at years of indoctrination. Why would America be so kind to its enemies? It wasn't just mercy, it was strategy. U.S. officials knew the war would end, but rebuilding peace would be harder. So they showed the captured soldiers what freedom looked like. They let them see factories running 24 hours a day, supermarkets filled with food, families laughing together without fear. The goal was simple: to re-educate by example. Many POWs worked in local farms and factories, earning small wages. Some helped harvest crops, others repaired roads or built barns for American towns. In return, they saw democracy in action, not propaganda, but daily life. They interacted with ordinary Americans, people who worked hard, complained about their government, but ultimately believed in their way of life. They saw farmers and factory owners who treated them not as monsters, but as men who could do a day's work. This subtle, sustained exposure to a functioning, free society was a masterclass in psychological warfare, fought not with weapons, but with ideas and goodwill. Over time, something changed. Letters from POWs to their families back home started to sound different. One wrote, "If Germany had been like this, we would never have needed war." Another asked his parents to tell the children, not all Americans are monsters. When the war finally ended and repatriation began, many didn't want to leave. Some returned home with new ideals. Others came back years later, becoming American citizens. Historians estimate that this soft victory shaped a generation, helping to transform West Germany from dictatorship to democracy. These men went back not just as defeated soldiers, but as witnesses to a different world. They had seen firsthand that the propaganda they were fed was a lie. They had experienced a society that was strong not despite its freedoms, but because of them. This quiet transformation, which took place in hundreds of camps across the American heartland, was one of the unspoken successes of the post-war era. Wars are fought with weapons, but peace is built with small acts of humanity. Those German POWs came expecting hate. Instead, they found generosity that disarmed them more than any bullet could. Their story reminds us that even in the darkest chapters of history, kindness can become a weapon, one that rebuilds the world. The true victory of any war is when enemies choose to understand each other. History is not just about who won, but about what we learned. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please consider subscribing for more history that matters.